Have you ever wondered what would happen if one day you simply stopped answering immediately? If one day you looked at your phone, saw the message blinking, and chose silence instead of reply? What if you decided not to explain yourself when accused, not to justify yourself when doubted, not to smile when you wanted to scream? What if you became unavailable? At first glance, it seems small. It seems harmless. But the truth is terrifying. When you stop being always available, the world panics. Because most of the people around you do not want you. They want your function. They want your role. They want your reactions, your quick answers, your compliance. And the moment you break that cycle, the ground beneath them shakes. Carl Jung once said, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to a better understanding of ourselves." Do you see? When you choose distance, when you choose silence, when you choose withdrawal, the people who panic are revealing something. They are revealing their dependence on you. They are revealing how much they used your availability as a tool to regulate themselves. And now that you are no longer there, they collapse. Think of how you have been trained since childhood. A child cries, the parent rushes to soothe. A teacher calls, the student answers immediately. Society teaches you that your worth is measured by your responsiveness. The quicker you obey, the more good you are. The more available you are, the more loved you are. At least that is the illusion. But Jung warned, the mask we wear to be accepted, the persona, can become our prison. And availability is one of the heaviest masks of all. Look into your life. How many times have you said yes when you were burning with no? How many times have you responded to a message just because you felt guilty not to? How many times have you played the role of caretaker, rescuer, problem solver, only to collapse in silence later, exhausted and empty? And for what? For approval, for temporary peace, for the illusion that you are indispensable. But deep down you know the truth. Your availability is not love, it is control. And control works both ways. Others control you through guilt, through expectation, through silent rules. But you also try to control how you are seen. You are terrified of being called selfish. You are terrified of being called cold. So you offer yourself endlessly, thinking that if you are always present, you will never be abandoned. But Jung saw through this trap. The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. To accept yourself completely means to withdraw when you must. To embrace silence when words would betray you. To walk away instead of performing. But this terrifies you because the moment you stop performing, others panic. And when they panic, they attack. They will call you arrogant. They will call you strange. They will call you changed. But the truth is, you are simply becoming whole. This is why unavailability is so powerful. It is not just absence. It is presence transformed. When you refuse to react, you reclaim the energy that was leaking out of you. You stop being a puppet whose strings are pulled by every accusation, every demand, every expectation. And in that silence, a new power emerges. But here is the dark truth. Most people around you do not want you strong. They want you predictable. They want you always there. Because what is always there becomes invisible. What is always available loses its value. Jung knew this. The psyche longs for individuation, the process of becoming whole. But society resists it, because a whole individual cannot be controlled. Think about it. The coworker who always replies instantly, taken for granted. The friend who always says yes, used until drained. The partner who always gives in, slowly resented. Why? Because abundance without boundary becomes trash. Silence, withdrawal, absence. These create value. When you stop being always available, you force others to face their own emptiness. And this is why the world panics. Not because you are wrong, but because your silence removes their drug. Your refusal to react exposes their dependence. Your absence forces them to look at themselves, and most cannot bear that sight. You have been told your whole life that goodness equals availability, that love equals self-abandonment, that peace means pleasing, But let me confront you with Jung's darker wisdom. What you call love may be fear. What you call peace may be paralysis. What you call availability may be self-betrayal. So here is the first revelation. Every time you rush to be available, you are not giving love. You are giving your energy away, piece by piece, reaction by reaction, until one day you wake up hollow, with no idea who you are without the demands of others. Do you feel that emptiness now? That exhaustion that no sleep can cure? That anxiety every time the phone rings? Every time someone expects more? That is not life. That is slavery disguised as love. And the only escape is the courage to be misunderstood. Because the day you stop being always available is the day you begin to terrify the world. Not with violence, not with cruelty, but with mystery, with silence, with the refusal to play the role that was killing you. And in that moment, the balance of power shifts. But beware, not all unavailability is power. There is a false unavailability, born of fear, avoidance, cowardice. That is not what Jung meant. True unavailability is conscious. It is not running from life, but choosing yourself first. It is not indifference, but sovereignty. It is not coldness, but clarity. And here is the paradox. When you choose this path, you will lose people. You will be accused. You will be rejected. But those who leave were never with you. They were with your availability, with your mask, with your function. And when the mask falls, they vanish. Good. Let them. Because only in that sacred isolation does individuation begin. Jung wrote, "The most dangerous psychological mistake is the projection of the shadow onto others. And when you stop being always available, projections fall. People who once saw you as savior, as scapegoat, as caretaker, can no longer use you. They panic, they rage, they collapse, but you stand silent, sovereign, free. Now let me ask you, how many of your relationships would survive if you stopped explaining yourself? How many friendships would remain if you stopped responding immediately? How many people would still call you if you stopped rescuing them from their own emptiness? The answer is brutal. Far fewer than you imagine. And that is the truth you must face. Because those who remain, the few, will be the ones who want you, not your function. They will respect your boundaries. They will value your silence. They will not panic when you are absent. And those rare souls are the only ones worthy of your presence. So remember this. Availability is not love. It is not peace. It is not virtue. It is a prison. And the key to that prison is terrifying but simple. Say no, stay silent. Withdraw. Watch the world panic. And smile. Because in their panic lies your freedom. In the next part, we will explore the mechanics of psychic energy, how every reaction drains you, how opportunists feed on your availability, and how Jung revealed the secret to protecting your inner power. What you discover may change not only how you see others, but how you see yourself. If this message touched you, if you feel the weight of always being available, write in the comments, "I choose my silence," and don't forget to subscribe, because the next part will expose the hidden mechanisms that have been controlling your life without you even realizing it. Carl Jung did not see the human psyche as a machine of flesh and neurons. He saw it as an energy system, subtle and invisible, yet more real than the physical world you touch. For Jung, every thought, every emotion, every reaction consumes psychic energy. And this energy, unlike electricity or gasoline, cannot be refilled endlessly. It is finite. It is sacred. Waste it, and you collapse. Guard it, and you become unstoppable. Now think, how do you waste yours? Every time you defend yourself against a meaningless criticism. Every time you rush to reply to a message that does not deserve your time. Every time you fight battles that are not yours just to prove you are good. Every time you try to please someone who does not even see you. Each of these is a leak. Each of these is theft. And at the end of the day, you feel tired, anxious, empty. Not because life is too heavy, but because you are spending your psychic energy on what does not nourish you. Jung warned of this trap when he said, "That which you resist persists." Do you understand the cruelty of this law? The more you react, the more you feed the very thing that hurts you. The insult ignored dies quickly. The insult answered grows fangs. The manipulator silenced with presence retreats. The manipulator indulged with explanations thrives. And yet, day after day, you keep giving them what they need most: your reaction. Have you ever noticed how opportunistic people operate? They do not scream. They do not threaten. They simply press the buttons you leave exposed. They know you cannot stand being misunderstood, so they accuse you. They know you fear rejection, so they withdraw love. They know you crave approval, so they withhold it. And each time, you react. You explain. You chase. You give. And they feed. They drink your energy like vampires, not with teeth but with silence, with absence, with guilt. Jung called this projection. People cast their own darkness onto you, and because you are always available, you accept it. You carry their anger. You absorb their fear. You take their blame. And little by little, your own psyche becomes a battlefield that isn't even yours. You think you are fighting for peace, but you are only fueling their chaos. Ask yourself honestly, how many sleepless nights have you wasted replaying a conversation, wishing you had answered differently? How many hours have you lost trying to explain yourself to someone who never wanted to understand you? How much of your life has been drained by arguments that led nowhere? This is your energy bleeding into the void, and this is why you feel weak. Not because you lack strength, but because you waste it. Look at the modern world. Notifications flash, alarms beep, voices call, demands pile up. Each ding is a hook, each expectation is a rope. And you, always available, jump like a puppet. Respond, explain, defend, react. Until one day, you no longer know if you live or if you simply perform. Jung saw this modern condition before it exploded. A world where the psyche is enslaved not by external chains, but by inner compulsions. And here lies the sinister genius of manipulators. They do not need to imprison your body. They only need to keep your mind reactive. As long as you react, you are predictable. As long as you are predictable, you are controllable. As long as you are controllable, you are theirs. But the moment you stop, when you breathe instead of answer, when you delay instead of rush, when you choose silence instead of explanation, something shocking happens. The manipulator loses the map. The opportunist collapses. Because their entire power depended not on who they are, but on who you allow yourself to be. And when you change the game, they panic. This is why Jung insisted that individuation requires the conservation of energy. A strong psyche is not one that reacts to everything. A strong psyche is one that chooses when to speak, chooses when to withdraw, chooses when to fight. The weak scream at everything. The strong act only when the time is right, and that difference is the line between slavery and sovereignty. Now let me confront you with something uncomfortable. You are complicit in your own exhaustion. No one forced you to answer that message at midnight. No one forced you to argue with someone who never cared about the truth. No one forced you to carry the wounds of others as if they were yours. You did that. You chose to waste your own energy. And until you admit this, you will remain drained. Jung did not romanticize the psyche. He knew it could be cruel. He knew the unconscious could devour you if you did not guard it. He knew that without boundaries, you would be consumed by projections and complexes. That is why he taught the art of observation. To step back, to watch the impulse before acting, to hold silence instead of surrendering to compulsion. Because true freedom is not the absence of triggers, it is the refusal to react to them. Think of the last time someone provoked you. Maybe they insulted you. Maybe they ignored you. Maybe they accused you. Did you feel the fire rising in your chest? Did you feel the need to explain, to justify, to prove yourself? That fire is your energy leaving you. And in that moment, you had a choice. You could let it burn out in silence, conserving it within. Or you could let it escape through words and actions that changed nothing but drained you. Which choice did you make? The truth is brutal. Most of your life has been wasted reacting. Most of your energy has been spent on battles that were not yours. And the world taught you to call this love, kindness, duty. But Jung would call it self-abandonment. He would call it slavery to the unconscious. He would call it a refusal to individuate. Because individuation, the process of becoming whole, requires a terrifying discipline. It requires saying no without guilt. It requires silence without shame. It requires absence without explanation. It requires the courage to let others panic while you remain unmoved. And here lies the paradox. When you stop feeding others with your energy, they will accuse you of being cruel. When you stop being always available, they will call you cold. When you refuse to react, they will call you arrogant. But these accusations are not about you. They are about their dependence. They are the cries of those who can no longer use you as a drug. So here is the second revelation. Your energy is all you have. Guard it with your life. Because once it is drained, you are defenseless. Once it is wasted, you are manipulable. Once it is gone, you are no longer yourself. You are a hollow puppet moved by others. But when you guard it, when you refuse to waste it, you become untouchable. You become unshakable. Imagine entering a room and not needing to prove anything. Imagine listening to an insult and smiling silently. Imagine being accused and not defending yourself. Imagine walking away instead of explaining. That silence, that refusal, that unavailability, it terrifies people. Because in that moment, you are no longer predictable. You are no longer theirs. You are free. In the next part, we will expose the darkest territory of all, how silent manipulators feed on your guilt, how they keep you enslaved through emotional games, and how Jung revealed that the only way to break free is to embrace the shadow within you. Prepare yourself, because what comes next will confront you with truths you may not want to hear, but cannot afford to ignore. If this resonates with you, if you feel the drain of your own wasted energy, write in the comments, "I guard my energy." And don't forget to subscribe, because the journey into the shadow is about to begin. You think you are free. You think your choices are yours. But Jung warned of something far darker. Most of your reactions are programmed. You are not choosing. You are repeating. And those who understand this can manipulate you without lifting a finger. Consider the people who always drain you. They don't yell, they don't threaten, they simply know which buttons to press. They know your wounds, they know your fears, and with a word, a silence, a sigh, they trigger you, and you react, like a puppet, like a slave. They do not need to control you, they only need to predict you. And because you are always available, always reactive, you are predictable. This is what Jung called the shadow. The shadow is everything you refuse to see in yourself. Your anger, your envy, your fear, your selfishness. You bury it, deny it, reject it. But in burying it, you also make it unconscious. And what is unconscious does not disappear. It controls you from the dark. And worse, it makes you a target for those who know how to exploit it. Think of this. The manipulator doesn't invent your weakness. They only shine a light on what you already hide. You fear rejection, so they withdraw love. You fear being seen as selfish, so they accuse you. You fear being abandoned, so they threaten to leave. And each time, you break. Each time, you react. Each time, you give away your energy. Jung once wrote, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." This is the core of your prison. You believe you are unlucky. You believe you keep meeting toxic people. You believe you are cursed with rejection. But the truth is simpler and darker. Your unconscious is feeding them. Your shadow is wide open, and until you confront it, you will keep repeating the same nightmare. Now, what does it mean to confront the shadow? It does not mean to destroy it. It does not mean to deny it. It means to face it, to see it, to accept that you are not only light, that you are capable of cruelty, that you are capable of selfishness, that you are capable of rage. Until you admit this, others will use it against you. But once you accept it, once you own it, no one can. Think of the guilt manipulators use. They know you cannot bear to feel selfish, so they accuse you of not caring. You collapse. You overcompensate, you give more. But imagine if you had already accepted your selfishness. Imagine if you could say, yes, sometimes I am selfish, and that is fine. The manipulator's weapon shatters. They can no longer control you, because you have already made peace with your shadow. This is why Jung insisted that individuation requires darkness, not pretending to be pure, not hiding behind masks, but walking into the abyss of your own psyche and facing what you fear most. Because only then do you become whole. Only then do you stop being predictable. But most people refuse this. They want to be seen as good, as kind, as always available. They polish the mask of the persona until it shines. But behind that mask, the shadow grows. And the more you deny it, the more power it gains. The more others can use it against you. And the more you collapse when accused, when rejected, when misunderstood. Now let us expose the mechanics of silent manipulation. It does not happen in shouting. It happens in guilt. It happens in silence. It happens in the small looks, the subtle sighs, the disappointed tones. And each time, you feel a stab of fear. You feel you must explain. You feel you must fix. This is how they control you. Not with force, but with your own shadow. Do you understand how dangerous this is? As long as you fear rejection, anyone can reject you. As long as you fear being misunderstood, anyone can misunderstand you. As long as you fear being selfish, anyone can accuse you. Your shadow is a weapon in the hands of others. But once you bring it to light, the game changes. When you no longer fear rejection, rejection loses its teeth. When you no longer fear being selfish, accusations become meaningless. When you no longer fear being misunderstood, silence becomes your ally. And this terrifies the world, because now no one knows how to control you. Think of those who panic when you no longer explain yourself. They accuse you of arrogance. They accuse you of changing. But what they truly mean is, we no longer know how to use you. And this is the panic of a world that has lost its control. Jung also said, one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. This is the path. Stop trying to be understood. Stop trying to be perfect. Stop trying to be endlessly available. Confront your darkness. Accept your shadow. And you will become someone the world cannot manipulate. But be warned, the price is high. You will lose relationships. You will lose comfort. You will lose the illusion of being good. You will feel guilt. You will feel fear. But these are the birth pains of freedom. Because the moment you accept your shadow, you no longer owe anyone an explanation. You no longer collapse under accusation. You no longer waste your energy in endless reactions. You become whole. Now ask yourself, are you ready to see what you have been hiding? Are you ready to admit the selfishness, the anger, the darkness you have buried? Are you ready to bring your unconscious into the light, even if it destroys the image you have spent your whole life protecting? Because until you do, you will remain controlled. But once you do, you will terrify the world. In the next part, we will confront the ultimate weapon of liberation, silence. Not passive silence, not cowardly silence, but conscious, strategic, terrifying silence. The silence that unbalances manipulators, that reveals truth, that rebuilds you from within. Prepare yourself. The most dangerous weapon you have is about to be revealed. If this struck you, if you feel the weight of your own shadow, write in the comments, I face my shadow. And don't forget to subscribe, because the next revelation may change the way you use silence forever. The modern world is noisy. Everyone is screaming to be heard. Everyone is desperate to respond, to argue, to defend, to explain. But in this ocean of noise, the rarest and most terrifying force is silence. Not the silence of cowardice, but the silence of mastery. The silence of someone who refuses to be dragged into games that only waste their energy. Jung understood this deeply. He knew that individuation, the process of becoming whole, requires withdrawal, requires listening to oneself instead of the endless voices of others, and that withdrawal creates silence. A silence so heavy it unsettles those who depend on your reactions to feel alive. Have you noticed how some people panic when you don't reply immediately? They send another message, then another. They accuse, they provoke, they create drama. Why? Because your silence is unbearable to them. It removes their control. It forces them to face themselves. And that is the one thing most people cannot stand. This is why silence is more powerful than argument. Words keep you in the game. Explanations feed the manipulator. Defenses confirm their power. But silence removes the board entirely. While you speak, they still control the narrative. While you argue, they still set the terms. But when you are silent, you become untouchable. Jung would say that silence is not absence, it is presence amplified. When you refuse to react, your energy does not scatter outward. It condenses inward, it grows, and people feel it. You enter a room and say nothing, yet the atmosphere changes. Your silence speaks louder than any defense, any justification. But here is the paradox. Silence is unbearable not only for them, but for you. The moment you choose silence, guilt rises, fear rises. The shadow whispers, you must explain, you must defend, you must prove. And this is where the battle is fought, not outside, but within. Because silence requires the discipline to face your own fear of rejection, your own terror of being misunderstood. And once you cross that line, once you can hold silence while others attack, accuse, or abandon, you discover the most terrifying power of all, sovereignty. Think of how predators test their prey. They provoke, they chase, they observe. If the prey runs, it is weak. If it panics, it is doomed. But if it stands silent, unshaken, the predator hesitates. Silence is not weakness. Silence is the posture of one who no longer fears loss. And that is why it terrifies. Now look at your own life. How many arguments could have been avoided with silence? How many manipulations could have collapsed if you simply refused to react? How many battles did you lose because you could not bear to be misunderstood? You thought your words would fix it, prove it, save it. But your words only enslaved you further. Silence is not withdrawal from life. It is refusal to waste life. It is not passivity. It is strategy. It is not absence. It is presence that others cannot control. And this is what makes it the most powerful weapon you have. But beware. There is false silence too. The silence of avoidance, of cowardice, of fear. That silence weakens you. That silence is running from life. Jung would never call that individuation. True silence is conscious. It is chosen. It is heavy with awareness. It is the silence of someone who could speak, could fight, could react, but chooses not to. And that choice shifts the balance of power completely, because when you stop reacting, others reveal themselves. They show their emptiness. They show their dependence. They show how much they needed you as a mirror, and now that the mirror is gone, they crumble. This is why silence is dangerous. Not because it harms you, but because it unmasks others. It reveals the manipulator's hunger. It exposes the fragile ego of those who depended on your availability. And it forces them into confrontation with themselves. Jung wrote, "In each of us there is another whom we do not know. That other speaks through silence. That other emerges when you stop reacting. And that other terrifies people because it no longer plays by the old rules. It no longer exists for their approval. It no longer lives to be understood." So let me ask you, when was the last time you used silence as a weapon? Not silence to escape, but silence to confront. Silence that left the other person exposed, trembling, furious because they could not control you anymore. Do you remember the look on their face? That is the look of someone meeting their own shadow for the first time. And this is why silence terrifies. Because it is a mirror they cannot shatter. A mirror that reflects their emptiness. A mirror that does not argue, does not explain, does not bend. And in that mirror, they see what they always feared, themselves. Now imagine living this way. Imagine never wasting another drop of energy on meaningless arguments. Imagine never being provoked into reactions that drain you. Imagine carrying silence not as absence, but as a presence so heavy it unsettles everyone who tries to control you. This is individuation. This is freedom. But the price is high. You will be misunderstood, you will be accused, you will be abandoned, and you must endure all of it without breaking the silence. Because the moment you explain, you fall back into the game. The moment you defend, you waste your energy. The moment you react, you lose. So here is the third revelation. Silence is not empty. It is the highest form of strength. It is the refusal to be a puppet. It is the breaking of the chain of reactions. It is the presence that makes the world panic, because the world no longer knows how to control you. In the next part, we will face the final transformation, solitude, the loneliness that comes after withdrawal, the pain of being misunderstood, and the rebirth that follows when you choose yourself over the world. Jung called this the sacred isolation of individuation, and it is the path only the brave dare to walk. If this resonated with you, write in the comments, "I choose silence." And don't forget to subscribe, because the last part will reveal the price and the reward of becoming truly free. When you finally stop being always available, when you embrace silence, when you withdraw your energy from the endless demands of others, something strange happens. At first, there is only noise, the noise of guilt, of fear, of voices screaming in your mind that you are being cruel, that you are being selfish, that you are losing everyone. And maybe you are. But beneath the noise, something else emerges. Something that feels like a scream at first, but soon becomes peace. It is solitude, not the solitude of emptiness, not the solitude of despair, but the solitude of presence, your own, the solitude of someone who no longer betrays themselves just to be accepted. Jung called this the sacred isolation of individuation, the time when you step away from the crowd to hear your own voice again. At first, it feels unbearable. The phone is silent. The people who once clung to you are gone. The ones who fed on your availability have found new victims, and you are left with yourself. No distractions, no roles, no endless justifications, just you. And for most, this is terrifying, because they discover that they do not know who they are without the demands of others. They discover that their entire life has been a performance. But if you endure this solitude, if you hold it, if you let the silence cleanse you, something miraculous happens. Clarity enters. Where there was once confusion, you see patterns. Where there was once anxiety, you feel calm. Where there was once neediness, you discover strength. And slowly, you realize that you are whole, that you do not need to be available to everyone to have value, that your worth was never in your reactions, but in your presence. Jung said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are, and you cannot become who you truly are while enslaved to the world's demands. You cannot become yourself while constantly reacting, explaining, defending. You can only become yourself in silence, in solitude, in the refusal to abandon your own soul. But let us be clear, this path is not easy. The more you grow, the more selective you become, the more silent you become, the more you are accused. You will be called cold, you will be called arrogant, you will be called distant, and maybe you are, but you are also free. And here is the paradox. Those who truly love you, those who truly value you, will not be destroyed by your silence. They will not collapse when you are not always available. They will respect your boundaries. They will honor your absence. They will see your value not in how quickly you respond, but in the depth of your presence when you choose to give it. The rest, the opportunists, the manipulators, the emotional parasites, they will vanish, and their disappearance is not your loss. It is your liberation. So now you stand at a crossroads. On one side is the old life, always available, always drained, always enslaved by others' demands. On the other side is the terrifying path of individuation: silence, solitude, misunderstanding, rejection, but also strength, wholeness, freedom. Which path will you choose? Because here is the final revelation. When you stop being always available, you are not losing the world. You are gaining yourself. And in gaining yourself, you become someone the world cannot ignore. Someone who is rare. Someone who is unforgettable. Someone who terrifies others not with cruelty, but with authenticity. The loneliness of the strong is not a curse, it is a rebirth. It is the crucible where the false self dies and the true self emerges. It is the place where you learn that you can survive without approval, without constant validation, without endless availability. And once you survive, you become unshakable. Jung knew this. He knew that individuation required rupture, that to become whole, you must walk alone for a time, that to become authentic, you must endure rejection, that to become free, you must stop betraying yourself for love that was never real. So now I ask you, are you ready to pay the price of being misunderstood? Are you ready to endure the silence, the accusations, the loneliness that come with protecting your soul? Are you ready to walk away from the roles that drained you and become whole at last? Because if you are, then the world will panic. People will accuse. They will reject. They will misunderstand. But none of that will matter. Because for the first time, you will be free. And freedom is worth every loss. If this message touched you, if you are ready to embrace silence, solitude, and freedom, write in the comments, I choose my freedom. And don't forget to subscribe, because this journey of individuation is only the beginning. The next step is not just surviving without availability. It is creating a life where your presence is rare, valuable, and unforgettable.